Jennifer Fitzgerald at Deluxe Lifestyle Strategies. Thank you for joining me once again on my journey, my challenge to spread some education on how to make, save, and protect your money. Last episode, we had Terry Records, a real estate investor, talking about her new book, Millionaire Mom, How I Turned $5,000 into $6.5 million. That was awesome. So if you missed that, check it out on the Deluxe Lifestyle Strategies channel on YouTube. But today is all about your debt score. More specifically, tactics on how to improve your score, right? Yes, I did call it a debt score, not a credit score, because I believe that, you should actually rearrange your words. Like when we sugarcoat things by using words that are nicer, then it affects our lives around that subject. And this is a great example of that. If we started calling it a debt score and thought about how bad it was to have one, we probably would have less debt, right? So how does it actually work, right? So first, I need to discuss liabilities versus assets. If we're going to talk about our debt score, I'm going to keep calling it that. It's vital to have this kind of path laid clear before we expand into the debt side of it. Liabilities are anything that you purchase that does not maintain or increase in value. They typically decrease in value and they cost you money, right? Plain and simple. Assets are anything that you purchase or do that can pay you money, preferably long-term paying you, and passively, like residual, things like that. There have always been a huge discussion about our personal home as to which side that lays on. We buy a house, we pay interest on the mortgage, a lot of it, right? We pay to have things fixed or improved on the house, and only if we are super savvy or lucky, do we get to sell the house for more than what we actually put into it over that time span. During the entire time we were inhabiting it, though, we were paying in. Nothing was coming back out. So no, your house that you live in is not an asset unless you paid cash and you're doing Airbnb on like 80% capacity. I don't know. That's a whole different subject, and I'm sure we will go into at some point because they actually make pretty good money. Real estate that is an asset, pure rental properties, and caution that you use the banks properly for this or fund it yourself, right? Businesses can be assets, especially if you are leveraging other people's time to make you money. Unfortunately, those of you who are self-employed, and I know this because I've been there many times, where the business stops running if like you're sick or you want to go on vacation or anytime you're not around, right? That really isn't an asset, unfortunately. You can't usually sell it because you are the thing that drives it, right? So if you sell it to somebody else, it doesn't work. In fact, I did that last year. I sold a company that I was pretty much the one running everything, and a year later, the company's gone. And it was a 10-year-old company that I've been running for 10 years, and I sold it, and now it's gone. So if you yourself and you are the only staff, basically, it's not an asset, unfortunately. And heck, even bigger businesses sometimes can't be sold the way the owner thinks they are. I actually know a man who bought a Subway here locally, and then he wanted to increase his income. And the only way to do that most of the time when you have franchises is to buy another one. So he bought multiple more Subways, and he said, okay, no, that's fine. I'm going to run them for X amount of years, and then I'm going to sell them, and that's going to be my retirement plan, which is unfortunately what a lot of people do for a retirement plan. Doesn't always work out that way because he was planning on selling them in 2009. Guess where he still works today, right? You got it. He still works at his Subways, and he cannot sell them for anywhere near what he paid for them years ago. So that is definitely a liability for him. I don't know. I mean, I'm not his financial coach or anything, so I don't know what his plan is at the moment, but hopefully someday he can figure out how to get out of that cycle. So basically, anything that's in your house is typically a liability. Of course, now there might be some of you that are going, well, but I make money on X, Y, and Z in my house. And that might be an unusual case. But in general, most of the stuff that we buy for us is a liability. I just want to get all that out of the way, okay? You guys got that? Liability, assets. Now we can talk about debt. Now that I've laid that down, we can get back to our nasty debt scores, right? If you have any questions about that, though, feel free to ask questions. I'll answer. So back to the question, how does debt score work? There are a few different things that go into our debt score. The main one is our use of credit cards. Most everyone knows this, right? They take your available debt. Like, for instance, you have 3 credit cards. Each of them have a $5,000 limit. That means you have $15,000 available debt to you. Then they take the amount that you've actually used. Say one of your cards has $500 on it, the other card has $3,000 on it, and your third one you maxed out, it's got $5,000. So you have a total debt usage of $8,500. They divide that by the $15,000, you get 56.7% used debt. In order to have a higher or better debt score, you want to keep your usage down around the 10% range. I know, it's almost like, wait a minute, so I have this credit card and I can use it, but I really need to pay it off all the time. Yes, you should always pay off your, in fact, if you don't have cold hard cash in your bank account, you shouldn't be putting anything on a credit card. That's where people are getting mixed up with credit cards, is they're using credit cards instead of having cash. Credit cards should be used and then paid off, and there's reasons for all that. So everyone understands that if you have higher credit, more debt used on your credit cards, that your credit score is going to go down, right? But did you also know that if you don't use your credit card, your score will go down? You have to actually use your card, okay? This is where it becomes very tricky, that people are not, they're like, oh, well, I'm just going to cut my card up and throw it away. Wrong. That will make your credit score drop. You do actually have to use it. So, and then there's the payment history part of your debt score. If you have any late payments on your credit card payments, your score will go down. And once you have one late payment, you have to maintain a good payment history for 12 months in order to really get that credit score to go back up there. So that's a really, 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 really big one. Don't miss your payments if you're trying to raise your credit score. Here's one that you may not know about. If you do not have any recorded utility bills, water, electric, you don't have a car loan, a home loan, your score is going to go down. In fact, it means that you have no credit scoring history. They don't have anything to judge your credit or debt score from. This is where a lot of kids right out of high school are, brand new creditors coming out into the world, and they don't have any debt to speak of. They don't have any track record for the credit bureaus to judge what your score should be, right? Pretty interesting. So again, with no debt, you have no score. That's why I call it a debt score. There are people in America today, in fact, more and more, I think, Americans who are deciding that they don't want debt. They're like, you know what? Nope, I don't want to be in the proverbial rat race. I'm going to pay cash for everything. And then they go to the bank to try to get a loan to buy a house. doesn't work, right? Without that debt, you don't have a good debt score, and thus you won't actually qualify for a home loan. Now, I'm not against having no loans. Don't get me wrong here. In fact, I believe that is truly the best way to get the best bang out of your bucks. And as we learned the other day when I spoke to Mario Payai about mortgages, they are pure money makers for the banks. Why would I want you to pay the banks when you can actually learn to become your own bank? Then there is the income side of the score, right? We all know about this side as well. Your debt to income ratio plays a part in your credit score. They say that you should be around the 43% or below in debt to income ratio. I hear this all the time from mortgage lenders. They're talking about business owners who have gotten way too good at expensing everything into their business, right? Because if you have your own business, you can write off a lot of things. That's great when it comes to tax time, but when it comes time to borrow a home, again, your debt score is skewed, right? So the business has, because the business has debts, and the car, they probably have a car or two with a loan, and they have personal credit cards, yet their income is reported at super low. And so thus, this is where the banker is kind of like staring blankly, like, I don't know what to do for you when someone comes in and says, hey, I want a loan to buy this $400,000 house, but I've only reported $40,000 in income on my taxes. It doesn't work, right? So what is the solution for all of this? We must have a balance. Yes, that was a very intended pun, right? Balance, get it, whatever. You need debt in order to have a score. You need to show income if you plan to secure a major loan. Am I saying to just go running out and run up all your credit cards? No! In fact, like I said, you need to keep them on the lower end around that 10% mark. But you do have to use them. And I say it like kind of revolving. What I do, for instance, is I have one specific card that I use for gas in my vehicle, right? This makes it easier for me to track for business purposes too, because I drive a lot for what I do. But at the end of every month, I put that balance on the gas card, right? It's not that I don't have the money. I didn't need to borrow the money to pay for my gas. I had the money. I just choose to use that convenient piece of plastic to buy my gas, and then at the end of the month, I pay the card off. So every month, it's just revolving through. Now, when they report to the credit bureaus, it looks like the card is being used and paid off constantly, and that is really good for your credit so long as it stays down. So say you're watching this right now and you're seriously over the 10% mark. Okay, so this is the other side of the coin. If you are over that and you're looking to increase your credit score really quickly for some reason, you can actually ask to have your limits raised or you can apply for another card. But only spend money that you physically have in your bank account is what I'm trying to get across to you, right? Don't go into debt. Use debt so that you can get further down the path to financial independence. Using 90% of your available credit is like missing a payment when it comes to your debt score. So you never want to be tapping out all of the money that you have available to you. If you start getting into a situation where you are paying it off and you're using it and you just get like it's going really high, you can ask for raises in those limits, which actually helps increase your score as well. And again, am I saying that this is the path that you should take. I can't actually answer that for you right here because this is a wide open forum and I don't know who you are. I don't know what your finances look like specifically. We'd have to actually sit down and talk specifically about you and what your score is, where you are debt-wise, all that stuff. But many people are so concerned about their debt score because they're in need of creating more debt. And that is the wrong way to go about this. I'm a firm believer that if you have maxed out your credit cards and are having difficulty with paying them down to the 10% mark, you should definitely not go get more available credit to fix the issue. That is not how you fix too much debt, okay? You don't need to increase your credit score if you can't pay your cards off. You need to focus on paying your cards off so that you don't have so many bills, right? That's a totally different thing talked about in our Know Your Numbers courses. So debt can and should only be used to increase your speed to financial independence, meaning use debt to help you when it will get you closer to financial independence. Do not use debt to buy things that are going to put you, things that are not going to put you on the path to financial independence. So what are good purchases, right? Rental real estate property can be a good investment if done correctly. I will caution you on that, and I'm going to have some more episodes that dig much deeper into that specific topic because many people go down that path and find themselves in a huge debt hole that they can't get out of because they didn't do it properly. So make sure you know what you're buying and what its purpose is for in your financial journey. For you business owners that I was talking to, am I saying that you need to claim more income if you own a business? Well, that again is a decision that you will have to make on your own based on your future plans, actually. You have to ask yourself if you plan to finance your home or any major purchases that the business might need, or if you're going to need to borrow large sums of money from the bank. If you think you need to borrow large sums of money from the bank, you're going to have an income that will make them say yes. You get that, right? I am saying, though, perhaps begin calling it what it really is, a debt score. Can we all agree to call it a debt score when it's a debt that we're looking at? Look at it with disdain when it's used to buy liabilities. Like, you should feel bad if you have to use a credit card and you know the money's not in the bank. Okay, that is the total wrong way to go about using it. I wish it were illegal for people to be able to use it in that fashion. But of course, it's one of the largest industries on the planet is credit card, loaning money. It can be a great tool, but only if it is used on the journey to get assets, money-making assets. In fact, there are people out there now today, just recently I started seeing some of this, people who are teaching how to use credit to do amazing things. And I'm actually waiting for permission right now to show you one of those. I'm so excited about it. It will actually be listed below in one of the links as soon as I get that, so maybe check back on there. If you think that your credit score might be a little wonky right now, make sure you can go and pull your reports. You're allowed to get one from each of the places every year for free. You don't have to pay for that. Just go get them, ask for one. If you find things on your credit report, go to cfpb.gov. You can actually file disputes there. If you've only ever missed one payment, you can actually file a dispute to have them get that removed from your credit as well, which could raise your credit score if that's what you're after. And then for those of you who are just beginning on this journey, say you're 18, just getting out into the real world and you'd like to start, building your debt score, make sure you be careful with it. Beginners, the first card that you should probably get, it's a really good card, is called the Discover IT card. So go to Discover and get that card. It's lower balance, all whatever. It's a good way to get started, and there's no fees and things like that. For people who are in the intermediate range, go get the Chase Freedom 5% money back card. That's a really good card to have, and later down the road, if you have too many cards, you can't get that card. So you're going to want to get that one sooner before any other ones. And if you're super advanced in the credit game, and this is coming from one of my mentors, which is why I'm suggesting it, is the Chase Sapphire Reserve card. But keep in mind that one does have annual fees and stuff, but there's a whole bunch of things that you can do with that card that you can't do with some of the other cards. Again, it's one of those ones that you can't get if you have too many credit cards. So if this is a journey that you're trying to go down, make sure that you get those up front. Okay, that's all I have for today. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Make sure you leave a comment below. If you have any questions and you want to reply to me privately, obviously, this is about money. So maybe hit me up on my website or find me on Facebook. All the links are below. You can always contact me at info@deluxefinancialgroup.com. Thanks for watching today. Definitely make sure you don't miss the next episode. Hit the subscribe button below. We are always talking about money, and I've been doing a lot of really great interviews with people who are also in the money industry. So I look forward to seeing you next time. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, on all the links below. I hope I have inspired you with ideas or a new thought today on how you can improve your life. Now it's your turn. Go inspire someone, and I'll see you next time.